Serena sat in her small room in Lagos, flipping through her church's wedding album. She had always admired the couples who got married in the church. Each wedding seemed flawless, with smiling couples, glowing brides, and promises of a happy life. Her pastor often said that marrying within the church was the secret to finding a perfect spouse, and Serena believed it wholeheartedly. For years, she had imagined her own perfect day. She would walk down the aisle in a white gown, her husband waiting at the altar, promising her a life filled with love and joy. When she finally met Caleb, a fellow church member, she was convinced he was the answer to her prayers. Caleb was everything Serena thought she wanted. A regular attendee at church and part of the choir, he had a calm demeanor and spoke kindly to everyone. Their first meeting was at a youth fellowship where he volunteered to lead a prayer for the group. His words were soft yet confident, drawing Serena to him. Over the next few weeks, Caleb began to show interest in Serena. They would sit together during Bible study and chat after services. Soon, Caleb asked if he could visit her family. Serena was overjoyed, seeing it as a sign that God had ordained their relationship. Yet, in her excitement, she failed to notice the small signs that Caleb wasn't as open as he seemed. Caleb proposed to Serena after just 6 months of dating. It was a simple moment after church service, with no grand gestures. He said he wanted them to serve God together as a couple. Serena felt like her dreams were coming true. She immediately said yes, believing their love was destined to thrive. However, as the weeks went by, Caleb's behavior began to change. He was less attentive, often distracted, and sometimes impatient with her. When Serena asked what was wrong, Caleb would brush her off, saying he was busy with work and church commitments. She dismissed her doubts, reassuring herself that things would improve once they were married. Serena threw herself into planning the wedding, receiving support from her family and church members. She worked tirelessly to make every detail perfect. However, Caleb seemed distant during the process, rarely showing interest in the plans and often leaving decisions up to her. One day, when Serena asked Caleb to help pick their wedding colors, he responded sharply, saying it was her responsibility as the bride. Hurt, she avoided confrontation, believing that these small misunderstandings wouldn't matter once they were married. As the big day approached, Serena noticed more concerning behaviors. Caleb often spoke harshly about people in the church, calling them hypocrites. He also avoided answering questions about his past relationships, claiming they didn't matter. When a close friend tried to warn Serena about Caleb's temper, she brushed it off. "He's just stressed," Serena insisted. "Marriage will bring out the best in him." But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The wedding day finally arrived. Serena stood in front of the church, dressed in a stunning white gown, as the choir sang beautifully while she walked down the aisle. Her heart raced with excitement. She glanced at Caleb, who was waiting for her at the altar, looking calm and composed. The ceremony was everything she had dreamed of. The pastor spoke about love, commitment, and the importance of building a marriage on faith. As they exchanged vows, Serena felt certain this was the start of her perfect life, but Caleb's distant demeanor lingered in the back of her mind. The first few weeks of marriage were pleasant but far from the bliss Serena had imagined. Caleb was polite but not affectionate, often spending hours on his phone or watching television, leaving little time for meaningful conversations. Serena tried to focus on the positives, cooking his favorite meals, keeping their home tidy, and praying for their relationship to grow stronger. But Caleb's coldness began to weigh on her. Whenever she brought up her concerns, he dismissed them, saying she was overthinking. As the months passed, the gap between them widened. Caleb started coming home late, claiming he had meetings or work obligations. He rarely attended church with her, often making excuses. Serena felt lonely in her marriage but didn't want to admit it to anyone, especially not her family or church members. She confided in her best friend, Tosha, who advised her to be patient. "Marriage is not always easy at first," Tosha said. "Just keep praying and showing him love." Serena clung to these words, hoping things would improve. One evening, Serena decided to confront Caleb about his late nights, wishing to understand why he seemed so distant. Instead of answering, Caleb became defensive. Why are you always nagging me? He snapped. Can't you see I'm doing my best? The argument escalated quickly, leaving Serena in tears. Caleb apologized later, blaming his temper on stress, and Serena forgave him, but the incident left a mark. She began to wonder if she truly knew the man she had married. Serena's suspicions grew when she found a text message on Caleb's phone from a woman named Maya. The message was casual but felt too familiar for comfort. When she asked Caleb about it, he laughed it off, saying Maya was just a colleague. Though Caleb's explanation sounded reasonable, Serena couldn't shake the feeling that he was hiding something. She began praying fervently for clarity, asking God to reveal the truth. Over time, more red flags surfaced. Caleb became secretive about his finances, refusing to discuss their budget or share details about his income. He also avoided family gatherings, giving vague excuses about being too busy. One day, while cleaning their room, Serena stumbled upon an old photograph of Caleb with another woman, tucked away in a drawer along with a letter that suggested a serious relationship. When she confronted him, Caleb brushed it off, claiming it was from his past and didn't matter anymore. Serena tried to believe him, but her trust began to erode, and she started questioning everything she thought she knew about her husband. The strain in their marriage began affecting Serena's mental health. She felt isolated and ashamed, unable to confide in her church community for fear of judgment. Trying to focus on her work and hobbies, she realized that her idea of a perfect marriage had been based on appearances rather than reality. Seeking advice from her pastor, Serena hoped for wisdom and guidance to salvage her marriage. During their meeting, she hesitated to reveal too much, fearing judgment. Instead, she asked general questions about handling marital challenges. The pastor reminded her of the importance of patience and prayer, emphasizing that marriage is a journey requiring effort from both partners. When Serena finally approached Caleb with calmness about her feelings of loneliness and her desire to work on their relationship, he listened but offered little response. "I don't know what you expect from me," he shrugged. This crushed Serena. She realized that while she was willing to fight for their marriage, Caleb seemed indifferent. That night, she prayed more earnestly than ever, asking God for strength and wisdom to navigate her situation. A few weeks later, Serena noticed changes in Caleb's routine. He began receiving more late-night phone calls and leaving the house without explanation. One evening, her curiosity got the better of her, and she checked his phone again. This time, she found a series of romantic messages from Maya. Serena felt her world crumble. She had suspected something was wrong, but seeing the evidence hurt more than she imagined. Confronting Caleb, he reacted with anger. "You had no right to go through my phone," he shouted. Though Caleb tried to turn the blame on her, Serena finally saw the truth. Her perfect marriage was far from what she had imagined. The next day, she called Tosha and shared everything with her. For the first time, she allowed herself to cry openly about her pain. Tosha listened quietly and advised her to take things one step at a time. "You need to decide what's best for you," Tosha said. "Marriage is important, but so is your peace of mind. Don't ignore your happiness for the sake of appearances." Serena knew her friend was right, yet the idea of making a big decision scared her. She wondered how her church and family would react if they knew the truth. During a Sunday service, the pastor preached about honesty and transparency in relationships. His words struck a chord with Serena. She realized she had been pretending everything was fine while silently suffering. After the service, an older woman from the congregation approached her. "I've been watching you, my dear," the woman said. "You look troubled. Remember, God gives us the strength to face our trials, no matter how hard they seem." Serena thanked her but didn't share her struggles. Yet the woman's words lingered in her heart, giving her a sense of hope. One day, while running errands, Serena accidentally ran into Maya. The meeting left her shaken. Maya introduced herself casually, and Serena sensed she was aware of her relationship with Caleb. Maya's polite tone carried an air of confidence that made Serena feel small. After their encounter, Serena realized she could no longer avoid confronting the reality of her marriage. Feeling overwhelmed, she decided to speak with a marriage counselor, hoping a neutral party could help her understand what went wrong and how to move forward. The counselor listened carefully as Serena poured out her heart. "You can't fix a marriage alone," the counselor said gently. "Both partners need to be willing to put in the effort. If Caleb isn't ready to work with you, you may need to consider other options." Though the advice was hard to hear, it brought Serena clarity. After the counseling session, Serena spent days reflecting on her life and the choices that led her to this point. She looked through her wedding album and noticed something she hadn't seen before: Caleb's distant expression in nearly every photo. It dawned on her that she had been so focused on the idea of a perfect marriage that she overlooked the cracks forming even before they said "I do." She realized she had ignored her instincts and warnings from others because she was too invested in the image of what her marriage should be. This realization brought a mix of sadness and resolve. Serena knew she needed to prioritize her emotional and spiritual well-being. One evening, Serena decided it was time to have an honest conversation with Caleb. She prepared herself emotionally, knowing it could go in any direction. "Caleb," she began softly, "I can't keep pretending that things are okay between us. I know about Maya. I know you've been distant and unhappy. I need to understand what you want from this marriage." Caleb looked at her, his expression unreadable. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "I don't know," he admitted. "Maybe we rushed into this. Maybe we wanted something neither of us was ready for." Though his words stung, they confirmed what Serena had feared. They had built their marriage on shaky ground, and now it was beginning to collapse. Taking some time away to clear her head, Serena visited her parents' home, finding comfort in familiar surroundings. Her mother noticed her quiet demeanor but didn't press her for details. Instead, she encouraged Serena to take things one day at a time. During this period, Serena spent hours in prayer and reflection, asking God for guidance and clarity. For the first time in months, she felt a sense of peace amid the turmoil. While at her parents' home, Serena met with an old friend who shared surprising information about Caleb's past. According to her friend, Caleb had been in a long-term relationship with Maya before their marriage. The relationship had ended abruptly, but it seemed the two had never truly let go of each other. Hearing this confirmed Serena's suspicions. Caleb had not been honest with her from the start. Though the revelation hurt, it provided a clearer picture of the challenges in their marriage. When Serena returned home, Caleb was waiting for her. He admitted that he had been seeing Maya and apologized for betraying her trust. "I didn't mean for things to happen this way," he said. "I thought I could move on, but I was wrong." Listening quietly, Serena felt a mix of anger, sadness, and relief. Though his confession didn't erase the pain, it gave her the closure she needed to make her next move. After much prayer and reflection, Serena decided to separate from Caleb. It wasn't an easy choice, but she knew she couldn't continue in a marriage built on dishonesty and emotional neglect. She informed Caleb of her decision. Though he expressed regret, he didn't fight it. "Maybe this is for the best," he said. Serena temporarily moved back to her parents' home, determined to rebuild her life. Dreading the reaction of her church community, she expected judgment and whispers, but many members expressed support. Some women even confided their own struggles, admitting that their marriages were far from perfect. This outpouring of honesty reminded Serena that no one's life is as flawless as it seems. She began letting go of her shame and embraced her truth. Finding work as a school administrator gave Serena a renewed sense of purpose. She also joined a women's support group, where she met others who had faced similar challenges. Through these connections, Serena began to rediscover her strength and self-worth. Realizing that her identity wasn't tied to her marriage but to her faith, resilience, and ability to grow, she looked back and recognized the mistakes she had made. She had placed too much trust in appearances and ignored the importance of truly knowing her partner before marriage. She also learned that marriage alone couldn't guarantee happiness. Real love required honesty, effort, and mutual respect, qualities her relationship with Caleb had lacked. Months later, Serena attended a church seminar on relationships, sharing her story in hopes of helping others avoid similar pitfalls. Her courage inspired many, and she received heartfelt messages of gratitude. Serena came to see her experience not as a failure, but as a stepping stone toward a better future. Ultimately, Serena found peace in her new life. Though she wasn't ready to consider another relationship, she remained open to the possibility of love when the time was right. Her journey taught her the value of patience, self-awareness, and building relationships on a strong foundation. Serena realized that true happiness came not from chasing perfection but from embracing life's imperfections with faith and courage. With hope in her heart, she moved forward, ready to face whatever the future held.